Right now from League1 Ontario, and they are champions from the Vaughan Azzurri, is Daniel Gogarty. Daniel, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm very good. Daniel, thanks for making time to join us here. Let's talk about that big win over FC London early on in the game. Chippy, physical. You guys scored early and often, and it looked like you knocked the confidence out of FC London. Let's talk about it. What did you guys see early on that was working for you?
Yeah, we knew going into the game was obviously going to be a battle. We played them earlier in the season, though, in an OSL match, so it was Vaughan OSL versus FC London OSL, right? But it was a battle, and we knew a couple players that they had up top. They had a striker that they liked playing off of. We knew what we were dealing with, but getting those early goals for us was obviously clinical, right? It relieves a lot of stress in like a big cut match like that.
So your midfield was compact, your midfield was spraying the ball all over, your defenders were in sync. It seemed like everything was working early on. And then, unfortunately, just before the halftime, some shenanigans took place. You went down with a man, and you had to start the second half without a key player on your squad. How did the head coach, Carmen Asako, adjust you guys mentally to focus on the job at hand? Because the game at halftime was still not out of hand.
Yeah, so fortunately for us, we had a lead at the time, though. We did have a 2-0 lead going into half. But we knew we had to be way more compact on defense, way more disciplined. We couldn't go forward as often, but we knew we were going to get more chances as the game progressed. So we just stayed compact defensively, and we just waited for the chances that came. And when they did, we made use of them. We got 2 more goals in the second half.
So, Daniel, you're one of the younger guys on the squad. There's a lot of veterans on that team. You can talk about each and every one of those veterans, I'm sure, how they've helped you along in your young development. And it was key in this game for the veterans to calm the young guys down. But I think that was the mix that this team helped you and so many of the young guys throughout the season. Talk about it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. When you go to training with players like Joe D, they've been in professional environments, right? So they know, and they bring that to training with you, and you get to see what it looks like firsthand, right? Like how they prepare for games, how they show up at practice, what their work rate's like. And it's just amazing for players my age, players younger than me. We get to see that, and it makes us better players.
Let's talk about that crowd and how great it was to see a lot of the youngsters from your club, the Vaughan Azzurri, come out there to support you guys in this final. Now you're off to Quebec. How great was that to have that support?
Yeah, it's always great to have fans on your side, right? Like FC London had some fans come out for them as well. But seeing the little kids from Vaughan, for them it probably means a lot watching us play, right? Like that's what they aspire to be at their young age, play games like this. And it's always fun having a crowd watch you play.
Let's talk about, Daniel, now the future for you. What's the future outlook for you? Do you want to take a crack at trying to go at Europe? Are you looking at possibly USL and maybe down the road MLS? So what is in your mind that you want to take a goal at?
For me personally, I'm trying to possibly take a crack after university with MLS, USL, somewhere in North America.
Now, we've seen some guys from Canadian universities and colleges go on to have success. I mean, the perfect example is Mo Babouli with TFC. He played in TFC Academy in League1 Ontario. He's played quite a number of games up with the senior team. I'm also thinking of a former player with the York Lions, Michael Cox, if I'm not mistaken, that is playing now with the Orlando City B team. Is that the type of route you're looking at?
That is exactly the type of route I'm looking at. Mo Babouli from Sheridan, obviously. And then Michael Cox from York University, and he's tearing it up in the USL right now.
And let's talk about it. You played university, you played League One, you went up against one of the best, FC London. You played, obviously, against Oakville. You've played the Sigmas, the North Mississaugas, the North Torontos. It's a very competitive team. There's the top 5 or 6 that is pretty even, more or less, and then you get some at the bottom that are just struggling to get an identity and to be up where you guys are. Compare that with the universities like Guelph, Brock, on and on.
Yeah, so League One is kind of like Canadian university soccer. You have those teams like Guelph, York, McMaster that are up there at the top, always competing day in and day out, Laurier. And you do have those bottom teams at the bottom, like the Brocks, that try to find an identity within themselves. It's a very similar aspect of leagues.
Daniel, let's talk about the people in your life to help get where you're at. I'm sure that there had to be some influence on you to continue on this path, to live out the dream you're living. It has been your parents. Is it coaches that believed in you? Who are the people that stuck by you from minute one that you decided to play this game that you love till now and still the future?
Oh, for sure, it's my parents, especially my mom driving me to all my practices, all my games from a young age, always being there, telling me I had to wake up early for those tournament days, waking up at 6 a.m. to go to the OSA, always pushing me to be better, even the days I didn't want to go.
And that's awesome to hear as a parent of two boys. And I bet you, I don't even know your mom, I bet you she never said anything to you in the car when you lost and maybe didn't have a good game. I bet you she said, let's go grab something to eat, or let's put a smile on that face and continue on. Right or not?
Yeah, always my biggest supporter, always.
And that's fantastic. Daniel, listen, as we let you go, let's talk a little bit now, getting ready to go off to Quebec. You're playing the interprovincial final. The first 2 years, League 1 Ontario teams have won it. TFC Academy in the first year, Oakville last year. So there's a big, spotlight on Vaughan Azzurri not to drop the ball against their Quebec counterpart. What are you guys expecting, and what are you thinking about going off to Quebec now to play them?
So we haven't really looked at the team we're playing against yet, but we know we have the quality of players that can win like these types of matches obviously, as we've seen. But yeah, we're just focusing on us right now. We're going to try to get better practicing throughout the week still. And when the time comes, we'll probably look at some tape from them, but for now we're just focusing on us.
Outstanding. Daniel, thanks so much for making time to join us on the show. I'm sure we'll hear your name in the future, like I said, whether in USL, MLS, or Europe. Good luck, because you've got a bright future ahead of you, young man.
All right, thank you.